Good day, everyone. Here we are again. This is our second of the lecture series on cultural anthropology. So this time we will be tackling or discussing or going into the realm of ethnography. Ethnography being a household uh, methodology for anthropologists. So today we'll go deeper on what ethnography is. Okay, so ethnography, a comprehensive overview of understanding cultural anthropology's core method. No, since ethnography is really the core method of anthropology. Introduction to ethnography. So first of all, we will be defining what ethnography is. So ethnography is the foundational method of cultural anthropology. It refers to systematic study and detailed description of peoples and cultures. So basically, when you say ethnography, it's describing the people, describing their culture. However, in order to describe that, ethnography involves immersive observation and often participant involvement in the daily life of the community of the group or being studied. No? So in order to somehow describe the people, describe their culture, an anthropologist should be in the area, no? Doing observation, participant observation, or living the life of the people themselves. Now, traditionally, ethnography aimed to provide in-depth insights into practices, rituals, and social structures of marginalized and remote communities. However, the way they do it is in a holistic way, you know, offering a holistic understanding of their way of life. So the holistic part can be seen because the anthropologists immerse themselves to the communities. No, however, over time, the focus of ethnography has expanded significantly. While it initially concentrated on documenting the lives of the indigenous and marginalized communities, the scope today has changed into more complex in the modern society. It expand to every society. So it recognized that every society, no matter how technologically advanced or industrialized, has unique cultural practices and social dynamics worth studying. Before, it was only focused on these indigenous communities, the indigenous people. However, today, this ethnographic skills is being applied already to every cultural practices, no? Unique cultural practices, no? Not only of the indigenous communities. No? Today, we even have ethnographies on migrants, ethnographies on the urban poor. No? These are no longer indigenous people, no? But still, ethnography is being used as the tool, no, for the anthropologists in order to describe their life. Now, ethnography is increasingly used in diverse modern environments, no, such as urban neighborhoods, even in corporate settings, no, online communities, and globalized networks. In fact, there is already what we call now as digital ethnography. So imagine the digital ethnography. Uh, Ethnography while looking at their web page, looking at their page, looking at their Facebook channel, YouTube channel, and all. No? There's already that. Now, this shift signifies a broader understanding of culture as a dynamic and pervasive aspect of all human aspects, not just those that are geographically or socially distant from the ethnographer's own culture. No, so but it caters to everybody. No, though it's in its evolving application, ethnography continues to provide valuable insights into the complexities of contemporary life. So, so ethnography can really uh, penetrate, no, the complexities of contemporary life because of the immersion, emphasizing the relevance of cultural anthropology in understanding modern human behavior and social structures. So that is what ethnography is. It started with marginalized and less powerful groups. However, today ethnography is being used in urban neighborhoods, corporate offices, and digital environments. So much have changed, no, from before. No? It really evolved, no? Such as culture is also dynamic, culture is also changing, and since culture a is central, no, to the study of communities, societies, so is the method of ethnography could not is not only applied does not only apply to indigenous communities, but it also applies to everyone, no? To every community, as long as there is man, as long as there is man. So what is the core principles? What are the core principles of ethnography? No, now we have here four, no? Emic perspective, ethic perspective, holistic approach, and relationship building. No, so these are the core principles of ethnography. Now, the emic perspective is it involves understanding and interpreting a culture from the insider's viewpoint, meaning uh, there's no bias. You live in the community. You look at things the way an insider looked at it. And this approach emphasizes the subjective experience of the people in the culture, focusing on their meanings, beliefs, and practices as how they understand them, not as how you from the outside understand them. It allows the researchers to capture the unique worldview of the group and provides deep insights into their internal logic and significance of their behaviors and rituals. Any perspective. This is the immersion part. You know, the perspective that you think like a local. That's any perspective. Think like a local. But however, you can only get that thinking when you have spent so many much time with them. You cannot get that overnight. So yeah, that's emic perspective. Another perspective is ethic perspective. Now, the ethic perspective involves analyzing a culture from an outsider's viewpoint, so from somebody from the outside. Now, this approach seeks to be objective, not subjective. It often applies universal categories and concepts to study cultural phenomena. Now, while it may lack the deep subjective understanding that the emic perspective provides, the ethic perspective is sometimes, no, not sometimes, it's also valuable for making cross-cultural comparisons, cross-cultural, and identifying patterns or structures that may not be immediately apparent to insiders. Okay? So if ethic perspective looks at things from the inside, ethic perspective looks at things from the outside. So in EMIC, they're able to get the ideas, the mindset of the local, while in ethic perspective, they try to look at it from afar, from outside the community. What's the advantage of that? In EMIC's advantage is to get the subjective view, while ethic is getting the objective. Because in the ethic approach, you should be at the outside. You're not looking only on one culture, but you're looking in different cultures. So it's important that your perspective should be ethic, because so that there will be no bias, in those different cultures. Okay? Another approach in ethnography is a holistic approach. It examines the interconnectedness of various cultural practices and institutions. Instead of studying cultural elements in isolation, this approach looks at how different aspects of culture, such as economy, religion, politics, and social structure, interrelate and influence one another. This comprehensive view is essential for understanding the complexity of culture and how different practices contribute to the overall functioning of the society. So, yeah, culture is very complex. And, one factor there, or one cultural element is attached to everything. Uh, that's why ethnography, being holistic, looks at everything, as to their interconnectedness. Now, another core principle of ethnography is relationship building. Now, relationship building is it's building trust and rapport with informants. It is crucial in ethnographic research. And the success of a study often depends on the quality of relationship the researcher establishes with the people they're studying. No? That's why it is also called the method there, which is the first step. When you do ethnography, is hanging out stage, and that's the time when you enter their place and you get to speak with them first, no? And hang out with them, to make friends with them, no? So in order to build trust and rapport, because most of the time when you are new to the place, the people, the community there will never be at their own pace. No? They will not. They will always be conscious of you, no? Until such time that they're able to trust you and ready to know you, and then sometimes they just go on their way every day. They they do their usual things with or with your presence or without. No? But if you have not yet established rapport with them, of course, no, they will be very cautious with the things they do because they treat you as an outsider. And that is why relationship building is very important, no? in Very important in ethnography. It is also ethical. Because building rapport is respectful and mutually beneficial. So these are the four core principles of ethnography. You have there the emic perspective, you have the ethic perspective, you have the holistic approach, and you have the relationship building. So uh, when you do a specific research, emic perspective is the best. When you when you want to document a certain community, emic perspective. However, if you want to look at several communities, you want to look what is their similarities, their differences, and you want to test a certain objective, ethic perspective is the best. Holistic approach is the approach that uh, anthropology uses in ethnography, that it looks at the interrelatedness, the interconnectedness of all the factors inside the community. While relationship building is very important in trusting, in getting the trust and confidence, and also the rapport with informants, in order for you to go ahead with your data gathering techniques. Okay, then we proceed to challenges. However, like any other discipline, like any other method, there are always loopholes, no? There are always challenges. So what are the challenges in ethnographic research? First challenge is what we call the naive realism. It is the incorrect assumption that people from different cultural backgrounds perceive and interpret the world in the same way. So sometimes we have this assumption, we have this assumption that we look at things the same. We look at things in the same way, even with the fact that different culture may have different perceptions. Now, this belief ignores the fact that cultural context deeply shape individuals' perceptions, thoughts, and behaviors. Now, naive realism can lead to misunderstandings and miscommunications in cross-cultural interactions. No, because you do not assume. It overlooks the diversity in worldviews and experiences that exist across different cultures. The different cultures have different worldviews and as a product of their different experiences. No? And so many factors which are foundational to that perspective. That's why live realism is a challenge, because we have the tendency to think that we think the same, but we're not. It depends on the culture. Another challenge is culture shock. Culture shock refers to the feelings of anxiety, confusion, and disorientation that individuals may experience when they are suddenly exposed to an unfamiliar culture. I remember when I told you the story about the people in Inuit, Alaska. No? Some of you said, "Oh, ew." Oh, no. That's an expression of of a person or who is shocked with a different culture. No? Of course, it's hard to accept at first, but you have to think that you have to be like them, and that culture is relative. You know? You have different perspectives, so culture shock is there, but you have to tame yourself not to be shocked, no, not to be shocked. And then, culture shock is a common experience, especially when you live abroad. No, when you reach the place, Shala, this place is different. No, in the Philippines, it's like this. But here, it's like this. No, it's different. No, but culture shock will give. Is not permanent. No, it's not permanent. Just a span of time, maybe, and then you can adjust, something like that. No? So another thing that is also a challenge in ethnographic research is ethnocentrism. No? Ethnocentrism is the tendency to evaluate and judge other cultures by the standards and values of our own culture. No? This perspective often leads to a sense of cultural superiority and can result in biased or unfair assessments of other cultural practices. Ethnocentrism hinders cross-cultural understanding and can create barriers to effective communication and cooperation between people from different cultural backgrounds, because in ethnocentrism you believe that your culture is superior than other race. So when you stay in a certain place, you do ethnography and you look at what they do, having the ethnocentric perspective, you will always say that, oh, you're wrong, no, this is not how to do it, no, because you believe that yours is right. No? Ethnocentrism, that's a danger. No, there's a danger. You know, in doing ethnography, you should set aside being ethnocentric. Instead, you have to have the lens of cultural relativism. You have to have the lens of cultural relativism. Okay, so these are the challenges. Again, no? You have naive realism, you have culture shock, and you have ethnocentrism. Okay? Now we go to the ethnographic methods. Now, what are the methods in doing ethnography? So first, you have there a non-participant observation. This is the observation that involves the researcher observing the community or group without actively engaging in their activities. No? So you just look at it, no, and you just observe. Now this method allows for an objective view of behaviors and interactions as they naturally occur. No? While here's another observation which is very common in anthropologists. No? Uh, we call it as participant observation. So participant observation requires the researcher to actively engage in the daily activities of the community being studied. No? So actively engage means you, like in my case in fishing communities, I went fishing with them, I went um, with them to meetings, no? Participating, no, like a local. No? By participating, the researcher gains a deeper understanding of the social dynamics, practices, and experiences from an insider's perspective. No? However, another advantage of this method is it fosters trust and can lead to a more nuanced and comprehensive data. However, it also requires the researcher to balance involvement with objective analysis. No? You don't be so consumed with being a participant. You have to put balance there. But yeah, that is participant observation, engaging directly in the community's activities. So aside from that, you also have interviews. So you have informal interviews. These are casual interviews, unstructured, that allows for spontaneous and flexible information gathering. You know, they are typically less rigid in format, just a guide, no? Enabling the researcher to explore topics as they arise, no? Naturally during the discussion. No? You say informal as just simple discussions, no, with the people, and sometimes, no, these unstructured, informal, semi-structured, this informal, unstructured is usually one approach in building rapport and gaining initial insights into the informant's perspective. So you have also unstructured interviews. These are similar to informal interviews but may follow a broader thematic guide. No? So same with informal, however, in unstructured interview, you already have a guide on what to say, on what to ask. But still, no, it's flexible. No? Uh, it depends on the responses of the person that you are talking with. No? Again, this research is aims to uncover rich, detailed information, information that you might not have beforehand, no? Or information that you did not expect that they have. No? So something like that. Another, you also have semi-structured interviews. This is a combined, predetermined set of questions with flexibility to explore topics in more depth as needed. So you already have a set of questions. And this approach provides a balance between consistency across interviews and the ability to follow interesting leads that emerge during the conversation. So it is widely used in ethnographic research to ensure key topics are covered while allowing for in-depth exploration. So it is allowed in ethnography. So to cover and to guide the ethnographer on the questions. So sometimes in informal and unstructured, we got carried away by the discussion. Then you have structured interviews. These are interviews using a fixed set of questions delivered in a specific order. So these are the common interview that you already have a list of questions. You already have a list of questions. So then you also have the focus group discussions. Now, focus group discussions involve bringing together a small group of participants to discuss specific types guided by a facilitator. FGDs encourage interaction and dialogue among participants, allowing researchers to observe group dynamics, consensus, and diverse viewpoints. This method is actually effective for exploring collective attitudes, beliefs, and experiences related to the research questions. Okay, so instead of having them one-on-one, you bring them to a certain place and you ask them guide questions. And of course, in doing so, you just not record the conversation, but also you have to look at their behavior, no, as part of group dynamics. And because you might get some things and some data out of those. Okay? And then you also have the genealogical method. The genealogical method involves constructing detailed family trees, exploring kinship relationships within the community. This approach helps researchers understand social structures, inheritance patterns, and the transmission of cultural practices and beliefs. If you remember in your, I don't know if you have experienced making your pedigree chart. That's something like that. You trace the clans so that you can raise inheritance and all that. Then you have, lastly, you have key informants, interview, and life histories. So key informants are the individuals within the community who possess specialized knowledge, insights, or influence. They are the experts. They serve as the valuable sources of information, and they provide detailed perspectives on cultural practices, social structures, and community dynamics. Identify and work with key informants to enhance key deep depth and accuracy of ethnographic research. So once you're there in the community, you identify key informants, and sometimes in your participant observation, you join them on their trips, you join them on their daily activities, in order to get the concept of. And then there are also the persons who are experts, in the community. Then you have also life histories. Now, life histories involve collecting comprehensive narratives of individuals' lives, focusing on their personal experiences, social interactions, and cultural context. So you just let them tell about their story, narrate their story, and then this method provides a holistic view of a broader and social and cultural force that shapes the individual lives. And it is in the life histories that We can get rich qualitative data that illustrate the complexities of human behavior and cultural continuity and change. So life histories, what happened. They're usually those who are there for a long time are the people that we ask, for life histories. Okay, so yeah. Then we proceed to ethics in ethnographic research. So in every methodology, we have to consider always the ethics. So here in ethnographic research, first is you have to have or to create an informed consent. Like any other method. Informed consent is a fundamental ethical principle in research that involves ensuring participants that they are fully aware of the nature, fully aware of the potential risk of the study before agreeing to take part. It is an ongoing process where researchers must continually ensure the participants that they understand and that they consent and that their participation is voluntary and informed. So by this process, this shows the researchers' respect to autonomy and the rights of participants, allowing them to make an educated decision about their participation. If they say no, then do not include them. Do not include them. Another is probing sensitive topics. What is probing? Probing is researchers must carefully balance the need for information with the well-being of the participants. Okay, so sensitive topics might include personal experiences, traumatic events, or taboo subjects. Researchers need to approach these topics with empathy, ensuring that the participants feel comfortable and supported, para, so that it will be the participant can narrate much more. This often involves using tactful questioning, being sensitive to participants' emotional states, and being prepared to stop or change the course of questioning if it causes distress. This is a skill, because the probing, you can see it while you are doing the interview. During the interview. Another very important ethics in ethnographic research is privacy and confidentiality. It is critical in protecting participants' identities and the information they share during the research. So you have to have keep it in private. It should be handled securely, and the the identities of the participants should not be disclosed, and data could not be accessed by anyone else. You have to put rules, on who can only access the data, like that. And then you balance exposure and protection. Now, this is the ethical dilemma in research, balancing the need to expose important issues with the responsibility to protect the participants from harm. Like you're able in your fieldwork, you're able to get some sensitive data that if you will put that into your research, it will be exposed and somehow uh, somehow harm the those who are doing it. So this happened in San Ricardo, Pintuya, where though it was not a research, but they did not protect, because they interviewed the people, the video like in a blog type, small scale mining. And since there's that video uploaded in YouTube, that becomes an evidence, so some of the people there were being what to call this jailed, because of that. So this is one thing, you have to balance exposure and protection. Then yeah, so to end, ethnographic methods have significantly evolved over time, so to address the growing complexities of studying human cultures, from indigenous communities now to every community. Traditional approaches, which before focus only on participant observation, and in the interviews within remote marginalized communities today have expanded to include digital ethnography, multi-sited studies, and collaborative research, with participants. So this evolution reflects the need to adapt the changes in the society, such as globalization, digital communication, and the recognition of the agency and voice of research subjects. With these changes, ethical considerations have also become more intricate. The expansion of ethnography to new contexts such as urban communities or sensitive urban environments has necessitated for a need of more research ethics, ethical concerns, ethical guidelines to make sure that all is protected. Now, reflexivity in ethnographic research also involves the researcher's ongoing awareness and critical examination of their own role biases, and influence on the research process, because there is always that. That's why being reflexive means to bracket your biases. Researchers acknowledge that their background, beliefs, and positionality can shape the data collection, the interpretation, and presentation of findings. Reflexivity is crucial for maintaining transparency, ensuring the credibility of the research, and addressing the power dynamics. Another thing is in ethnography you have to use the principle of cultural relativism. You do not impose your own cultural norms and values. You have to suspend your judgment, and comprehend the internal logic of the meaning of cultural practices, even if it differs from your own. That is the cultural relativism in ethnography. It is essential to avoid the ethnocentric perspective and ensure that um, your research accurately reflects the diversity of the human experience, not your experience. So together, reflexivity and cultural relativism is the backbone of ethical and effective ethnographic research, allowing researchers to conduct their work with integrity and respect for the cultures that they study. Okay? So thank you, and what follows here is these are the guide questions. You can answer this here, the guide questions. So thank you very much, and until the next video. Thank you.